I don't wanna be that down. I don't wanna be that down again. I don't wanna be that down the same old road. Hey, so today we're going to make a video. I did not really wanted to make a video when I woke up, but now I'm thinking I'll have to because no one is actually talking about it, but someone has to talk about it, right? So it is not just about this particular video, it is about the overall culture or trend that is going on in the West and in many other parts of the world, and it is related to hating Indians, right? It is a very hateful trend, and much of it comes down to people who have no awareness, that are not geopolitically aware. They are not. They haven't explored the world enough. They haven't talked to people from around the world. Okay, these are those people we are discussing here, and they are like so far from the reality. They're not in they're not in touch with reality at all. Okay, so this YouTuber name is Coding with D, and this video is not to defame this YouTuber or to make you hate this YouTuber, all right? But this is the video that I want to talk about, and the video name is When Outsourcing $9 per hour software engineers goes wrong. Okay, that's a bit of thing. Okay, so $9 per hour, that's about 900 rupees. And when I started my career as a software engineer about 3 years ago, I made $5 per day, not $9 per hour, but $5 per day for an entire year. Okay, it was a company named Futuresoft India Private Limited, and it was actually a really good company.
By now, you probably have heard about the numerous issues with the aircraft, the Boeing 737 MAX.
Number one, start of the video is from a negative news, right? So we know that Boeing is a company that is falling, and it is falling because it created defective aircrafts and spacecrafts, and because of which there were a lot of issues. There are astronauts currently stuck in space. One of the astronaut is Sunita Williams, which is also an Indian, right? So I'm totally aware of what is actually happening with the Boeing, and they are actually in a bit of trouble here. But that is not the subject here. Let's see what she has to talk about in reality.
For the last couple of years. The 737 MAX was actually a revamped version of Boeing's highly popular 737 aircraft. However, the 737 MAX has a terrible reputation because the aircraft has been involved in some serious accidents.
Yeah, now it has a terrible reputation, but I'm hoping that she is not about to link that reputation to software engineers in India somehow. I don't know, let's find out.
There was the Lion Air flight in late 2018, which caused 189 people to lose their lives. And in early 2019, the other crash was the Ethiopian Airlines flight 302, which had 346 casualties. Most recently, in January 2024, on Alaska Airlines Flight 1282, an unused exit doorway blew out, which caused a decompression of the aircraft. Again, this caused.
Yeah, we remember that there was a news that Boeing's aircraft's door just flew off in midair. That was quite disastrous, but I don't know. I think much of it cannot be linked directly to the software. It also comes down to the hardware being used. You see, so what I'm what I want to say is just a software issue cannot cause door of an aircraft to to basically flow out of it, so blow out of it, right? It cannot happen because softwares are not that impactful when it comes to just the you know the integrity of an aircraft. it it has it does not have that much power. Yes, it is very powerful. It can cause major accidents, it can cause major issues, but I don't think that a software can solely make the door of an aircraft fly off.
Caused uproar about the 737 MAX, and many people asked the question, why does this aircraft, in specific, seem to be having a lot of serious issues? Now, the major issue with the 737 MAX was the software. When
Software, yeah, it was just a software, right? Because hardware is nothing, right? It is just about the software, because that's the industry that Indians dominate for some reason. Like when we talk about CEOs in all the software industry, those are Satya Nadella in Microsoft. Then there is Sundar Pichai in Google, or say Alphabet, right? So let's talk about softwares, and let's directly link the Boeing's failure to software engineers. Let's continue.
audits were done, the reason why these flights crashed was due to a malfunctioning system. And even if you aren't a software developer or you are not in the software industry, it is definitely not something an airline should even try to cut costs.
Again, her assumption is that the intention of Boeing to work with software developers, we're still finding out, right? She has not yet accused Indians, so we're still finding out. So she is saying that Boeing, a company with a lot of money, chose to save that money when they were choosing software engineers. That's her claim.
Software development in an airline company, you would expect that airline company to know that this is serious and we should not cut costs in this area of the business. Well, in 2019, after the Ethiopian Airlines flight crash, Bloomberg released this article titled Boeing 737 MAX software outsourced to $9 an hour engineers.
Okay, so if someone is earning $9 an hour, doesn't mean that they are less skillful. I started working as an intern, and I used to work as a .NET, full stack .NET developer in FutureSoft India, right? So it's not like I was less qualified, but the company did not have that much money to pay me a good salary, and I could understand that they were like developing their own products. It was a service based company, so they wanted to develop products, and I worked on their products. So they did not have the products then. I was hired as an intern. I worked at a stipend of $5 per day for an entire year. If I were not skilled, I couldn't have worked with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, and ASP.NET MVC. Alright, I'm not even talking about .NET Core, because a lot of things got easier in .NET Core. I worked with entity framework, with the designer. You know that there is a designer when you click on it, and sometimes that file doesn't even open. You know, and the databases such as MS SQL. But yeah, like, I am not qualified enough, right? So maybe she's more qualified. So let's just see what she has to say next.
There's two issues here. One is that Boeing is not a small company.
Boeing is not a small company. Facts. Come on.
So it's
Boeing is obviously not a small company, and definitely Boeing wouldn't be happy after seeing this video either, that someone is trying to defame their organization by not even stating actual facts. Particularly, I would want to give you an insight on how negative the propaganda is against Indians right now currently, and no one is talking about it. Not even Indians are talking about it, because most of the Indians are very hardworking, they are very qualified, maybe not very good at speaking English, and even I'm not very good at speaking English. My communication skills are not that good, but communication is one aspect in your career. It's not your entire career, it's not your entire knowledge. It is just a medium of communication. So if I'm good enough to communicate well with my client in English, and he's able to understand me and I'm able to understand him, I think that is good enough. When we are talking about researchers from around the world, their primary objective is not communication, so they do not have to be a good communicator, they have to be a good researcher, and they need to know their stuff. This is the topmost priority.
It's interesting that they would do this. And two, outsourcing cheap labor is now a huge issue in the software development.
Yeah, so I know where she's coming from. Nowadays, there is a global recession going on, and I don't know if it is happening in every industry, but it is definitely happening in software industry around the world. I have communicated with developers around from America, from UK, from Tunisia, which is Africa, okay, and I have communicated with developers even in Japan. And right now, many of the young candidate pool is actually seeking for a job, and they're not able to find it. So the best way to digest this fact is to just blame it on Indians, isn't it? Indians are taking their jobs. Yes, Indians are taking their jobs. Even I don't know how, because I have seen many Indians even in my country that are looking to have a job in IT, but they're not getting it. Maybe she's not aware of that situation, but just like it's a common trend that an American or a Western person would not know much about India or the rest of the world, which is not West. Let's continue.
Development world. Big companies are outsourcing cheap software developers, thinking it will cut costs, when in actual fact, it's making things worse.
By the way, if if Boeing just wants to, if price was the criteria of good developers, then I'll be charging you $50 per hour from today itself. And I'll urge all the Indian companies, do not undersell yourself, because the world has a habit to shit on something that is great, right? Because you get more in less, right? So this is not something that suits their propaganda.
So the software for the 737 MAX was actually developed during a time where Boeing was laying off its experienced engineers and pressing suppliers to cut costs. This article from Bloomberg actually interviewed a previous Boeing software engineer who worked in a group that supported the 737 MAX. And he released some concerning information. Boeing had contracted a company called HCL Technologies.
Many people might not know. I don't know, like in what world people would not know what company is HCL. It is a big company. It is a very big company. It is a very, I'd say, famous company as well. We have just watched 2 minutes and 46 seconds of the video, and it is going exactly where we thought it would.
To work on the MAX software. HCL Technologies is a multinational IT company which was started in India.
Started in India. Started in India. Yeah. Cheap labor. Started in India. Caused the catastrophe of Boeing. What are you saying exactly? Because I don't think that the income defines the quality of work you do. I have seen many developers that are exceptional, all right. They have like 5, 10, 20 years of experience, and they are not earning as much as a fresher in America or in some other European country. So, you're not just doing it wrong towards Indians, but you are not doing justice to people who charge $9 to survive. They cannot do much about it. Software industry is not something that there is something unique you will do out of it. Okay, there is research department, all right, that does research, and 99% of tech is based on that research. It is not exclusive to any other particular country or for any other developer that charges more. That research is open, and 99% of developers use the same technology, the same skill set. It is not something that you're going to create something out of the world unique if you're going to invest in America, or a company in America or in Europe. I wouldn't claim that Indian developers are better than developers in Africa or in Australia or in Europe or in America. I won't claim that. But we have seen that many Indians get to work in FANG or MANG companies because they work hard. But let's just poo-poo on their skills and ignore them entirely. We are not gonna be even accepting them in the American universities. We won't be giving them visas. We will say, you can just, yeah, it is a very good way to say, go back home, right? Go back home. We are not racist, but Indians need to go back home.
and has about 200,000 employees. Now, if you ever are in a situation where you need really cheap software developers, the rule of thumb is find a large outsourcing company.
Now, she is like so uneducated that she does not know that India is also a part of Asia Pacific. Right? And Africa. And Africa is earning $33 per hour. I'm not sure about that because $33 per hour is a lot. Basically, a huge region, huge part of the Africa is underprivileged, and they do not even have like food to survive. I'm not like degrading Africans. I know that they work hard. I know that they have to struggle to make it through in life, and they're very competitive. They are very hardworking, and they are underprivileged. They do not even have money to spend on proper education, and we can clearly say that Africa does not contribute to as much developers as India, and solely because they are underprivileged, and we need to we need to help them to reach to a position where they are able to become the best version of themselves, right? There is no shame in accepting that yes, India and Africa has a lot of poverty. I have no shame in, because when you actually see the problem, only then you can think about fixing it. But if you're living in your own shell of entitlement, then you won't be able to see what's happening around the world because you're not even interested. When was the last time you thought about, let's open a map, geographical map, you know? When was the last time you thought that there are 190 plus countries and it is not just about America or Europe? So the regions she approved is North America. Okay, so let's take North America, this, and Mexico, question mark, maybe not. Alaska, is it even a part of USA? We do not know that for sure. Greenland, we know that Greenland does not have many developers. Russia, no. China, no. India, not even India. Australia, it is not really sure. Middle East, a big cross, right? Because why would we include Middle East? Right? They won't include Middle East because Middle East people are not hardworking according to them. You see, and then we are going to approve Europe. We are going to approve Ukraine. Is it Ukraine? Yes, it is Ukraine. And Kazakhstan, nope. And here there is somewhere here there is Philippines, a Christian country. All right, let's go. And Madagascar, no. I mean, it is a part of Africa, isn't it? And she was inclusive enough to allow Africans, so to not sound racist. Sri Lanka, I'm not really sure. Not really sure because India is not a good option according to her. Afghanistan and Pakistan also a big cross. Where is Japan? Japan. Okay, let's allow Japan, but we surely know that even Japan is having issues currently with the recession. Brazil and these countries, no one is going to talk about this part of the world as well, right? So if we're going to look at it, many Africans may not be able to speak English properly. Yeah, so communication is definitely still a big factor, that you must be able to communicate well and fluently enough. And education is, and we know that, so we know that Africans may not be able to compete with Western developers. The big box here and here. This is the entire world. This is the reality of the people of West. Not all of them, because I am connected with Americans from that are my really good friends from Ohio, and they're very nice, they're very kind, and I'm not trying to defame or um, make it sound like all the Western people are shit. That's not true. This is not something that we are taught, right? And in no way I will say that they are less skilled than an Indian, because we cannot generalize this, you know. There are developers in USA that are way better than me. All right, there are Indian developers that are way more qualified and intelligent. I've worked with a my previous manager in my previous firm was a genius. All right, when I'm talking about genius, he was like out of this world genius, and he was from NIT, National Institute of Technology, NIT Delhi. So he was actually really good, and when I'm saying really good, I mean, I don't even have to say it myself. Go and talk to him, and you'll know what kind of a person, kind of what kind of brain he was bringing in the organization.
Company in a third world country like India. So them contracting a company like HCL Technologies, we know what they wanted to do. They obviously wanted to cut costs.
Yeah, they want to cut cost. Let's get down to it. And by the way, that's why Indian companies should not charge less than $50 an hour. Pay your developers well, because in today's market you cannot stay competitive, right? Because they will use this tactic against you. They won't say that, okay, but we're getting more out of the Indian people, where if they are allowed, if they're into this price war situation, and if they're charging less for their services, then it means they must not be qualified, right? According to her, it sounds much like that only. That if someone is charging less, then they are shitty developers. So, to all the companies um, that are working with me, or that outsource their business to me, I would I would compel you I would compel you to that I'm not going to take a deal that is less than $50 an hour. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't matter how economy is doing, it doesn't matter how a company is doing, a developer should be paid $50 an hour, right? And somehow that is not entitlement, right? So if company, see, you can leave the company if they're not paying you more, or according to your expectations. You have the freedom to leave the company and find a better deal for yourself. But you cannot do this. You cannot say that a Boeing like company would do such thing to cut cost. At least I wouldn't say it, because you know smart people don't say stupid stuff.
What's interesting is that this article says that they had a look at the resumes of the HCL engineers that were posted on social media, and these engineers at HCL helped develop and test the Max's flight display software. Unfortunately, Bloomberg doesn't really show the source of this or the screenshots of the resumes, but it is stated quite clearly in the article.
Okay, so even so, her criteria again is down to resume. You know, resume is the least important thing for a software engineer. A least important thing. I would rather want the criteria to be something else. It should not be dependent on resume. It should be dependent on your skills. So it could have been a test, all right? It could have been a test when you hire someone. Do not see their resume, test them, all right? Test their skills. Give them, and make sure that the test is something that is not generic. Because when it's a generic test, then people will figure out a way to cheat, So it should not be generic. You should test your developers. Resume is not important at all. Yes, it tells you what candidate has done. There is nothing more to it. Secondly, what you can do is check their GitHub profiles. It's a good way to say that a developer has done something for real, right? To deserve that spot.
Cool. This is what the former software engineer at Boeing has said. His name is Mark Rabin. In offices across from Seattle's Boeing field, recent college graduates employed by the Indian software developer HCL Technologies Limited occupied several rows of desks. He goes on to say the coders from HCL were typically designing to specifications set by Boeing. Still, it was controversial because it was far less efficient than Boeing engineers just writing the code. So that's often an issue with hiring contracting companies like that.
All right, so there are always those developers that would sound like, okay, I can do everything, because I'm also a full stack developer, so I know I can do everything from front end to the back end to database and everything else as well. And that's why I am about to do a startup as well. But that's not the thing. It's like they're saying, yeah, they can do everything. If the developers are saying everything, do not believe that. Because if you have deadlines, if you have a schedule, then what you should be doing is having proper systems. Don't think that you're just you're just going to achieve your goals magically. It is not going to happen that way. You need to have objectives. You need to have milestones. You need to have quality assurance. There are a lot of components that goes into it. So you cannot just say, you cannot just trust 2-3 people. You need to understand the depth of depth or the scope of work.
The engineers don't really have that business context that your local engineers or your internal engineers would have. So Mark continues to say, it took many rounds going back and forth because the code was not done correctly.
Many companies outsource their development process in India to companies like Wipro, Infosys, TCS, right? These are service based companies that worked with big companies such as, that still work with big companies such as Google, Microsoft. I'm not sure about the Microsoft, but it could be that they also outsource some of their projects. But Google also outsourced, and there are many other companies around the world that outsource their work to Infosys, Wipro, TCS like companies. And the main reason is not just cost cutting. Okay, so we can agree that it has something to do with the cost cutting, but it is not just limited to cost cutting.
In the article, it does state that these cheap outsource engineers go for a rate at $9 an hour.
$9 an hour. $9 an hour is a lot that she's talking about. It is not $9 an hour. It is, I'd say that average developer would make a lot less than that. A lot less than that. Average Indian developer or average developer around the world does not even make $9,000 an hour. Sorry, I mean the nine. What did she say? She said $9. $9, right?
Outsource.
Yeah, so there are many developers around the world that do not make as much as what she stated here. They make even less than that, a lot less than that. $9 an hour is, I think, is still a good pay. Still, it is still pay with which you can survive. Not too good, but yeah, for survival, I think it would work. It might work. It might.
Engineers go for a rate at $9 an hour. Yeah. And I mean, look,
You can understand her frustration by just the way she's talking. Like such a, that's what you can expect from a mature person, isn't it?
I don't mind paying a software engineer $9 an hour to develop a terrible to-do app because I don't care about quality. But surely
So, I don't know.
quality should be a thing that's important when it comes to software and aircraft or any flagship software. I haven't worked in the airline industry, so I may be wrong, but it just doesn't make sense to cheap out on airline software. Like, surely they draw the line there. And at $9 an hour, I'm really not surprised that the code isn't done correctly. It's obviously very cheap, inexperienced labor, even if
She's saying inexperienced labor. Yeah, when I started at $5 per day. But when I gained an year of experience, I can tell that I knew a lot more than many other people at that point, because I was working as a full stack developer in a startup, and an Indian startup that could not afford to pay me more than that. And I'm not having any resentment towards the company that hired me at that point. but it doesn't mean that I were a developer that was not as good as a developer in America. You can check out my work on my GitHub, or you can also watch my tutorials. I have made tutorials about Blazor, which is quite a bleeding edge technology that hasn't been adopted yet, right? So that's one thing.
They are from India. India has quite a low cost of
Okay, low cost, low quality, India. This is how that she wants to sum it up. I mean, how else can I put it? Like, I know that there is a lot of hate around the world for a resentment, okay, towards Indians, and I won't blame them. I would blame the system. I would blame their culture. Who else? How can I not just blame? Basically, I cannot blame individuals, because I know people that are from America and they are very friendly to me, and I'm very friendly to them. Basically, we enjoy working with each other, and even though there are some differences, and those differences does not make us less human. We may be Christian, we may be Hindu, we may be a Muslim, we might be from America, we might be from Europe, Australia, Argentina, Brazil, whatever the ethnicity, culture, sex, orientation, whatever you have in your mind, I think these are the boundaries that were drawn just to separate us. Maybe a down person won't understand this, but eventually we are all humans. This is an undeniable fact that we are humans, and when it comes to making errors or quality or anything else, it does not depend on anything. I mean, you cannot say that a developer from America is bound to be a very good developer. Are you getting me? It is not necessary. It is not necessary for just because I'm an Indian, I need to I am a great developer. Not it's not something true. Okay, there can be a developer from Middle East, there can be a developer from Australia, Africa, anywhere around the world. They can be great developers, and it has nothing to do with how much they got paid or from where they belong, right? But I think that some people cannot digest that fact.
living sort of South Africa. I'm from South Africa. And at $9 an hour, I'm not surprised that the code isn't done correctly the first time. This is done by probably really price of the code isn't done correctly the first time. This is done by probably really inexperienced engineers who don't have the correct qualification. And even though they are from India, $9 an hour would never buy you an experienced developer at all. Now,
They're just blaming it all on India, but it has much to do with the recession. This recession is happening everywhere, and but what the propaganda that is spreading is, it is because of Indians, because Indians are getting hired and we are not. This is a poor misconception. This is a misconception, first of all, and second, it is also hateful towards Indians. And I don't know in what world do you live if you do not understand this, that Indians are becoming a target of racism around the world a lot more.
when Boeing was questioned about it, not surprisingly, Boeing is saying that they did not rely on engineers from HCL or others for their MCAS system. So this is the actual system that has been linked to the crashes that happened. So Boeing is denying it. HCL is also denying working on the system. I'm not surprised here because if Boeing admits that they had some cheap outsourcing company work on a system that failed, it's a bad look for Boeing.
Why would Boeing accept that they were at fault? No one in the right mind, that is a billion-dollar company, would accept that it was their fault, because they have a big stake that is dependent on it. And when HCL denied this basically whatever it was accusation, I think that it is a very good chance that HCL has nothing to do with this failure. So HCL never accepted it, and Boeing cannot just blame a hardware failure on software, on just software. There are manual locking mechanisms in an aircraft, but let's talk whatever BS that comes to our mind first, right? It just makes sense to defame an Indian company because Boeing is perfect. And what about the spacecraft? Did HCL also coded their spacecraft in which Sunita William is still stuck? Do you have an answer for it? No, you do not have an answer for it because you're a social media influencer. You're not a developer. Come on, be real to yourself. And even if it hurts you, I want to set a new direction for the YouTuber named D. So what is it giving you? Like I do not understand it, but I do understand that it is not your narrative. It is not your narrative. You think that it is something that you thought. But how I see it is like some brainwashed person talking absolute BS on the internet, and even my video wouldn't even get through because it is not illegal to shit on Indians, but when an Indian talks about facts and figures, then we gotta disable their accounts. We're going to demonetize them and do all kind of stuff that we can do to them, isn't it? I'm actually quite upset because I've been noticing all these things happening, and it's just escalating. It is getting more and more and more, and I'm not ready to accept it as the truth. And many Indians wouldn't even talk about it. I'm not a change maker. It's not going to start with me. I know my video would not even get enough views, and I'm not doing this for views.
If HCL says that they worked on a system that failed, it's a bad look for them. Obviously, they're going to say that they haven't worked on it before. But interestingly, there was this audit that was done by the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. And in that audit, which was quite detailed, on page 9, it states that Boeing publicly blamed its software supplier for the issue related to the MCAS system, the angle of attack disagree alert, which was a whole part of the
They have to blame someone. That's the answer.
problem. So they are saying that the software supplier made the mistake and caused that issue. I guess the question is, was there a software supplier working on that? because it looks like this audit is saying that they were and they did blame that software supplier for that. It is quite ironic that in pursuit of them cutting costs and obviously making that a top priority, Boeing did make the decision to outsource probably critical software development to these lower cost teams. And probably at the time they thought that this was a smart financial move. But I mean, if you just look at the history of the 737 MAX, it's just an important reminder of how even outsourcing cheap labor.
Cheap labor, alright, so I am a cheap labor. Do not hire me, hire D. Alright, because we are cheap. Even if we're better, we're cheap, so we're not that qualified. Right? Hire D. Because she's an American. You do not have to save money. You do not have to think critically. You just need to believe that there is some American developer that is going to solve your problem. Right? And at a cost that is not overpriced. Because if we're going to draw a line, there are developers that are paid a lot, then there are developers that get paid nothing, and then there is a median where India lies. Okay, so where there is a balance of people who can communicate well and the people that have great skill set. But no, let's not hire these people, and these people are not good with communication, so we only have this option, which is European countries and America. So Five Eyes countries, only 5 countries at max. We do not have anything to do with 190 countries that exist on this planet.
Can have consequences like that. Lives were lost. It's probably the worst case scenario for any company. Did Boeing actually make a good financial decision in the long term? No. Currently, they're not in.
Maybe they did not make a good financial decision, but though this person, the way they made this video, it was a no-brainer. The only advantage they have is like India or Indians might not diss this kind of people. That's the only advantage they have.
Good place, their stock is plummeting.
Because we do not, we just do our work. We do not have to get involved in toxic politics, because that's the only way you can compete with Indians, right?
Reputation has been lost. Just a terrible decision from them. But that's just Boeing. And I think the question is, it's just one company. Are there others taking advantage and thinking that outsourcing cheap labor can actually be beneficial? Yes, there are others. So it does seem that more and more tech companies are laying off their local workforce and again outsourcing. That seems to be a common pattern that's happening in the recent years. In May 2024, news agencies were reporting that Google is laying off about 200 employees from their core organization. And as part of the specific unit's reorganization,
Again, when Google is laying off the core employees, I would tell you that it is a big problem. And it is not like they are outsourcing their work to India. No. First, what happens is they cut costs where they can. Those core members are very important for the organization. They cannot be replaced by a cheap labor, right? So when you're talking about a company like Infosys that develops projects, or Wipro or TCS that develops projects for companies like Google, and I think that those companies will be laid off first, and it happens, and it is happening right now. But I think D is not aware of the global situation right now. And it is not surprising to me. Many Western people are so unaware, they don't know what is happening around the world. They do not want to stay tuned with it. They think that the world is only limited to America. And when I say America, they do not even include UK, they do not even include Canada, they do not include Mexico, they're not including South America, Asia, Africa. Australia is somewhere in the corner, all right. Yes, Australia is getting some of the attention because it is, part of the community, that's it. But if you're going to look at the political inclination of Australia, it is much more inclined towards India, right? So it is inclining towards India and the countries that are, even Japan is inclining towards India nowadays. Africa wants to incline with India. South Africa wants to, South Africa country is a member of BRICS, right? China is member of BRICS, Russia is member of BRICS, India is member of BRICS. So it is like, I don't know who actually teaches them all this crap, but I don't think that what they're doing is actually the right thing. You do not have the knowledge, you did not do any research. You just came on the internet and talk shit for about 14 minutes, and someone has to make a video about your video to tell you that you were wrong.
And the company will hire corresponding roles in India, in Mexico. Again,
Mexico. Yeah, Mexico. As I said, Mexicans are not allowed. Indians are not allowed. See, I know that there is an immigration problem in USA that is going on right now, but your bigger problem is not Indians. Your bigger problem is illegal immigration. Legal immigration is not your problem. Many Indians are only like 1 to 2% of the total population of USA, and they contribute about 6% of the tax. 6%. So yeah, when an Indian is coming to America, he's paying taxes, he is contributing his work, right? And this is how the society progresses. And even the black people in America are underprivileged. They have been cut off from the society, and we know that because they were brought to America as slaves. I do not have to, I cannot, I don't know, I do not have any words to explain things to people that do not have any curiosity. Because the first sign of intelligence is that you need to be curious enough to know. But I don't know, these people won't even talk to Indians. They won't even have any sense of respect towards them or their work. They'd say things like Indian shit on streets. Yeah, like all Indian shit on streets. Like the Indians, what is the population of India? It is 1/7 of the world. So 1/7 of the world shits on streets. Satya Nadella shits on streets. What are you talking about? This is just pure racist stuff, and I have to address this. I must address this situation, because on one side we want to support diversity, we want to build a better world, At least I want to build a better world, a more balanced world where Africans have opportunity, where Indians have opportunity, where people in Russia and in North Korea or in whatever world they live in, they must get equal opportunity despite of where they are from. And if this is a very hard thing for you to understand, then you're not my then you should not be watching this video.
Third world country, labor is cheap. There are
Third world country, labor is cheap. Oh my god, there are Indians that are getting paid a lot more than D. Okay, so when you say cheap, I am not sure exactly who you're talking about, because yes, there are people that are earning less, but there are people that are making a lot of money. A lot of money. India is the fastest growing nation today. All right, if you're going to look at the GDP, you will see that India is showing about at least 6-7% of growth, and it also reaches up to 8%. So you cannot say that Indians are not making money or they're not earning a lot of money. India is a growing economy. What is growth? Growth is the difference between the point A from point B. The the difference between 2024 to 2025 is going to be massive in case of India. Yeah, but this won't make sense to someone who lives in a shell. They do not know what's happening around the world.
obviously doing this to cut costs. So the VP of the Google developer ecosystem, called Asim Hussain, announced the layoffs via email. And he goes on to say, announcements of this sort may leave many of you feeling uncertain or frustrated, but these changes are in service of our broader goals. So this is probably something that Google is looking to do across the board, and to lay off quite a lot more of their internal or local employees to fit.
Again, a lot of it has to do with recession, and also the fact that artificial intelligence is taking a lot of jobs. Those are not Indians, but definitely artificial intelligence totally destroyed people that were doing certain kind of jobs, such as editors. Right, there are writers, there are the people who, the content writers, they used to write content for like 6 years of their career, and now they are just not needed. They spent like 6 years, 10 years, 15 years of their life writing content, and now they are not even needed because ChatGPT replaced them. Those are not just Indians, if you're getting my point.
Their broader goals. Imagine if you're an employee reading this. I wouldn't care about Google's broader goals if I'm about to get retrenched or fired. I'm not going to say, oh no, I may not have a job, but it's okay because it's part of Google's broader goals. I always feel like these upper level leadership/management employees for these big tech companies are so out of touch. It's not right looking at it on a more personal perspective. So Google is an American company. And when it was starting up, when it was growing, it relied on American developers, going through the American education system, using American technology.
Many Indians today are graduating from American institutes. But why would we see that? It doesn't matter, because when you're talking about education, much of the education is not something that you learn in colleges. Many of the founders are dropouts. They themselves say, even Elon Musk say, that your degree is not something because of which we are going to hire you. It is not the decisive factor. It just says that you're educated and that's it. But nowadays it is not a criteria, especially in companies like Tesla, the big companies. They understand that the skill, yeah, degree matters. I'm not saying that it does not matter, because you know, a structural course allow you to be more flexible. When I studied software engineering, I not only studied about softwares, but also hardware, computer architecture, system architecture, and basically even networks. You see, so it's not just topologies, information technology, whatever it was not just limited to the software. It was it was everything related to computers, almost everything. I haven't studied compiler design, but yeah, so compiler design is just one of the subjects, but I have studied theory of computation, and the people in America might not be studying that subject today, but it was a very technical and very hard subject, and people who have studied it, they know it. They know that it is a very critical subject, that uh, to understand something like Turing machine, right? Whatever.
Using the American ecosystem and the reputation for Google to become what it has become. And it
Developers from Philippines are not graduates from US. There are many African nations that cannot afford education in US, because US universities are a lot expensive. They are very, very expensive. Okay, even Americans are not being able to afford education in USA, and you are expecting someone from India to apply to US university. How is it, how is that going to work? Because we do not have that money. We are in Indian economy, so we can only afford as much as much as our budget allows us. You see, so it is not just, it's not that just because I want to be a good developer I have to be in USA. There I have been taught by really, really good educators. They are very, very knowledgeable. They might not speak English as good as me, or they might not be good communicators, but their skill set, their knowledge is like so good. I cannot even tell you how good it is. I have no words for it, and I highly respect those teachers. It has nothing to do with how Indian education system is. It is about people. It is about individuals. So if you're saying that some Indian, let's say a CEO or a founder cannot teach me something useful, then you know where you're coming from, right? You're coming from a mindset that everyone is useless except you, because you are in America. That's it. Yeah, that's the criteria we are setting here for skilled labor. Yeah, there you won't find someone doing drugs in America. You won't find poverty in America. You won't you won't see school shootings in America. India has a lot of school shootings, right? Where we do not even, I don't even want to go into that topic, because it is a much controversial topic and it is out of context, because my purpose is not to defame any ethnicity or any country. But I think clearly we are not coming from the same moral background, are we?
it's really not great when it turns its back on its own local developers and decides to just start outsourcing, that's not a good look. Unfortunately, it does seem like this is the current trend in big tech. A lot of big tech companies are planning to lay off their workers and outsourcing. Intel, interestingly, is another one where they are laying off staff and looking to outsource, which is sad coming from Intel, especially because they used to be quite strong-headed about keeping everything local.
Do you want to know what I think? I think this whole AI thing is just a gimmick. Me personally, I don't need.
And yes, maybe there is a benefit of outsourcing. You are cutting costs, but are you really in the long term? Because there are many examples where the quality you're getting is horrendous.
Again, blaming it on quality, like she's one of the best developers, but I can clearly say that I am a better developer than whatever she claims herself to be. And it is a fact, we can be tested on different realms of coding, and not just coding, but the overall personality. And you know what, I want to tell this to even American viewers, that if you're going to trust such people and think that Indians just took your job, you are lying to yourself, and you're lying to, I don't know, Indians did not take your job, and you're just lying to yourself. To be good, you need to be competitive, all right? You need to be innovating constantly. You need to do hard work, and that is the reality that is going forward, all right? It is going to be a reality. It is not something that you're just going to get things for being an American or European or Australian. And it is not a bad thing, because when you're working on yourself, when you're working hard, you are developing your skills, right? You are doing a lot more than you're doing good for this world, and that should be our purpose. My purpose should not be getting paid more. My purpose should be creating more balanced and equal world, where people from Africa also gets the opportunity. They also have development in their country, right? We do not want to starve Nigeria. That should not be our purpose. Our purpose should be global growth. If an educated person from America can go to Nigeria and solve their problems, that is going to make you great. That is going to make you a person who is deserving of more money. It is not because you're in a privileged country and a privileged bubble. It is not going to help you, and it is not helping the world as well. So at some point I might have to go to countries that are underprivileged, or even maybe the countries that have better situation than me, learn there, and then come back to India and also tap into the opportunities in Africa and other countries that are underprivileged, and be a catalyst for the growth. That's how we are going to make this world more balanced. It is not that we can say that, okay, just stay out of my country. I do not have anything to do with you. You're a third world country. Third world country is actually a very toxic term to denote countries that have a lot of poverty, or have basically they are not coming from privileged background. That's all I am going to say about it. And if that offends you, I mean, even I consider myself as someone who comes from a privileged background, right? So I should be offended as well when I use the word privilege. So what is the difference between you and me? That I'm not taking it as an offense, but you are. You see, the reason why it is not an offense to me, because I am more connected with the reality of the world.
So this was a thread on Reddit, and it's titled, "Why is the quality of outsourced offshore development work so dreadful?" And here someone detailed their experience on working with a large development company that their company has outsourced. The OP said that the dev firm had 5 teams plus a management layer of architects and project managers. Each dev
Again, if you're actually important, if you're actually a value for the company, they wouldn't be firing you. That's a fact. That's a fact. The way you're saying that Boeing hired Indians, and the way Boeing hires people from around the world, not just India, but from Middle East, from Africa, from Australia, from Japan. You're saying that all of these countries are nothing, because in Japan, many people prioritize their own native language over English. So many of them won't even speak English. I'm not saying that it is bad, but they're not, when it comes to communicating, they might not even communicate as good as Indians, and it's not a bad thing. All right, they are good at what they do, their skill set. All right, we have seen companies like Sony, and there is a company that goes something with the name like Bomb Raid or something. All right, so that company is very, these companies are high quality. All right, even Honda produces very high quality cars or vehicles. Honda actually maintains their quality quite well. Japanese technology is very high tech, and it is not high tech because they can speak English very well. It is high tech because their skill set, their technology, their people, they know where to focus. They're not blaming Indians, they're not blaming America, they're not blaming China. Because when you're saying that, okay, this is we need to blame here, this and that, I don't just get it. Like, how can you by the way, I am a Microsoft certified Azure developer. All right, I would even share you my resume. You can look at it. I am a Microsoft certified Azure developer. I have worked in 2 companies, not just 1, 2, and right now I'm trying to do a startup. All right, one company was service based, Futuresoft, and the second company was Health Assure, which was health tech company. So, and I was a product engineer there. But let's just believe a random YouTuber from USA, because how can I like say a good job? Yes, you did a very good job. How can I say this? Because you're just spreading misinformation, you're spreading racism, you are misguiding people. This should not be your purpose, but you're misguiding people, even though, and much of it comes down to you not having the information. Yeah, but this is the world we're coming down to, all right? This is the stuff that is being told to Americans right now in the political landscape, right? Like Haitians ate your cats and whatnot. Haitians, see, I don't know if they did or did not, but the thing is, it sounds very absurd. And even if we think about it, like there is a Yulin festival in China where they eat dogs, right? But you're not talking about it. You're not talking about it. And even in American culture, it is very prevalent to eat pork or beef. But in India, we do not eat pork or beef as much. I mean, in the majority of vegetarian society does not even eat any kind of meat, right? So it is quite ridiculous that uh, being vegetarian is ridiculed. All right, we all are vegetarians. Just because you're non-vegetarian doesn't mean you do not eat vegetables. Yeah, but propaganda is that's how the propaganda works, isn't it? It is going to, I mean, like, I feel so bad that for like 14 minutes of video I've made so much efforts. I mean, this is not even worth it. How can it be worth it? Like, tell me, guys. But it would be worth it if you're just going to share this video and spread positive information. See, I'm not hating this content creator. I do not have any hate for her because I know that she is also the victim of propaganda. And even though I know where it's going to get, it's like the people in America are going to face a lot of systematic racism as well, and many Indians are going to get kicked out from there. And you know what's why is it a problem? Because many Indians actually put the entire their whole family's income into a college degree, and they might get a 3-year OPT extension for particular fields such as engineering, but for some specific fields such as engineering, but for the majority they won't even get the chance to work in USA. And with their loan, which is as much as a home in India, a 2 BHK or a 3 BHK apartment, 3-bedroom apartment in India costs as much as the US degree, and they will be sent back to India, and then they won't be getting any offer that is as much as they were getting paid in USA, which is almost about 10 times. Do you not see that there is a huge disparity and that the world needs to be much more equal place? You're saying that someone who's not graduating from USA does not deserve to earn as much as the people of USA. And even though we know that India needs to get developed, Africa needs to get developed, there are many parts of the world that are underdeveloped and underprivileged, but we do not want them to succeed. We want Americans to succeed. And it's not, see, I'm not trying to gain sympathy, all right? I'm not that kind of a person. I have proven my skill set by performing. That's why I have Microsoft certification, and I have the education, I have the experience. And I'm not trying to pull you towards my sympathy boat, okay? But India is on its way to grow immensely in the future, and even now it is growing very fast, and I think the world needs to know that. A business or a business person should not think that, all right, so there is a DED saying that Indians are low quality developers. If we are low quality developers, then how can I have a Microsoft certified Azure developer certification? There are, and I'm not even like one of the best. I'm not saying that that certification is something that makes me an exceptional developer, all right? I'm not saying there are many developers that are much better than me and they might not have the certification. But let's just trust a random social media influencer who just makes content online, and one of them could be like my day as a developer. That's it. I could have made that content as well, but I think my time is much more valuable, and I've wasted a lot more time in this video. I could have done something better than this.
Dev team had 4 developers and 2 QAs or testers. However, when asked to design a simple homepage, there were a lot of issues, from not meeting the brief to various aspects not working. And just working on one feature, they had to go through 9 cycles of offshore dev and QA just for one feature.
Let's generalize entire India, all right? Let's generalize me as well as the people that are having salary in like crores. Basically, yeah, there are Indians that are earning a lot because they are not only just developers, they're not only just CTO, they have started their own companies, you know, they have their own startups, and now they're working with other startups or other mid-scale companies and developing products for them. If that is not something that helps me to open your eyes, if it is not something that is helping you to see the reality, I don't know what will. I don't know what will, and I do not care. I just hope that someone who cares come across my content and see, yeah, this guy is actually speaking some facts, and it is not something scripted or manipulated. I'm just saying what I have to say, and that's why you see it is raw. It is not scripted. It's not something that I've prepared for.
I think is just wondering, this company that they outsourced had quite a proper structure in terms of team layout. However, somehow they just got everything wrong. So someone in the comments actually brought up a good point. They said, there's world-class talent all over the world. The problem is that Western-based companies think that they get them for pennies. Top-tier offshore developers aren't going to work for $3 an hour. They're either immigrating to other countries to get top wages, or they're working at unicorn startups within their countries that likely pay comparable amounts to Western countries.
Now, this is actually true, because an educated person understands that there is that Western countries earn much more than the developers in the rest of the world. That's why an African wants to get into America. That's why an Indian wants to enter America. And there is a pay gap. You see, we are talking about gender pay gap, but we are not talking about geographical pay gap. Just because I am in India and you are in America, you should get paid more, and an Indian should not be getting paid as much as an American. That is the issue. And you know how you justify it? You justify it by, okay, so we also have more expenses. Yeah, but we have the bigger baggage to develop our country, isn't it? And we're just barely making through our own finances, our own expenses, basically. Yeah, so pardon my English because it is all raw. It is not something that I've prepared. You see. So yeah, but just because you have more expenses, you have an option to come to India, all right? Come to India, work here, and be paid more. Who stopped you from doing that? But you do not want to do that. You want to live in the best country, you want to live in luxury, and you do not want to contribute to the global growth because what? It's a third world country, it is Africa, it is India, it is Myanmar, it is Kazakhstan, it is Tunisia, it is some state, some country that is tiny, someone who's never been there and will never be there. So why would you, yeah, you just want to be in the best country just because you were born there and you do not care about how the world works. See, I know that many people are related. Again, my intention is not to piss off people who are actually who actually support diversity, who are actually not racist to Indians. I have friends, a very good friend. You can say that I have a best friend, a soulmate from USA, and and it's not. I'm not even talking about against Trump or against Harris, Kamala Harris, or whatever. I am not being political here. The friend that I have, which is a very good friend of mine, is from Ohio, and she's actually voting for Trump. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with Trump. But even when it comes to Trump, he also has Vivek Ramaswamy in his party, right? So and I'm not in favor of illegal immigration, but yes, legal immigration is something that even USA benefits from. But this system is not working out, and because you should be paid more, not because you are in America. You should be paid more because you are contributing to the growth of the world. World is not limited to America. I'm not seeing any foreigner from other country coming to India and saying, yes, we are going to make India a better place. Yeah, they just complain that, yeah, India is so poor, it is so dirty, the food is so dirty. And actually that is not true. I'm going to show you the real India if you're interested to know. But if you're going to just complain and just portray India in the bad light, you're going to basically poo-poo on Indian developers, even when they are much, much better than you. I assure you, not all of you. I'm not saying everyone. Every Indian is better than American developers, but there are Indian developers that are better than American developers. There are American developers that are better than Indian developers. It comes down to the individuals and not to the ethnicity. I hope it is making some sense.
Countries, which is true. If I look at South African salaries of experienced developers, they're pretty close to salaries from the Western countries. The demand is still there. The other issue is that when big companies outsource, they go for huge IT consulting firms, which just churns out developers. These developers actually don't have any business context. They're treated like they're just another number that needs.
Talking about business context, yeah, we do not have any business context. Like, Do you know how many startups are opening in India currently? How can we not have any business context? Yeah, and how can education be like, you cannot just say that there are only American institutes that are sharing knowledge. There are Indian education systems or institutions that teach great stuff. Okay, it is not something that is you're going to see. You will see it in our work, but it is a very small part of qualification that we have as software engineers. What it comes down to is your experience, what you learn at the job, and the people that have that experience, they know this very well, that someone who's graduating and coming to an organization fresh, they are not they are not they are literally, they do not know much, they do not have experience with the real life scenarios. Data structures is not everything, system design is not everything, business model or business perspective on whatever thing is not everything. It is the combination of all of it.
Needs to meet a deadline. When you contract these firms, most of them work on billable hours, like most consulting companies or contractors. And if they just care about churning out the work, from their point of view, they would want to do the least amount of work in the max amount of time and do just enough to keep you neutral.
Just like everyone else in the world. Everybody wants to work less and less and earn more and more. It is a fact. It is not something that is going to change anytime soon, or it is there is a video of Jim Rohn that you're going to see here.
The question was, how little can we do and how much can we get? Remember, everything has four parts. Everything has four parts. One is cause. Two is effect. Three is direction. And four is destination. Everything has those four parts: cause and effect, direction and destination. The philosophy that says we want to work less and less and less and earn more and more and more puts us on a certain direction. And I'm sure everybody will agree to that. But the ultimate end of the philosophy is, can we finally not do anything and get it all? Right? That's the final destination of the philosophy. Can we do less and less and less and earn more and more and more? Now, the people who go for that philosophy usually say, no, we don't want to take you that far down the road, because that would be bankruptcy for all of us, which is true. Right? They say, we don't want to take you that far down the road. Well, now the next question is, how far down that road do you want to take us? There's always a danger point, right, of going down one road too far, because sometimes when momentum is created, demise is soon. You cross the line of no return once you go too far. So you've always got to be careful of your philosophical approach to make sure the direction you're going and the ultimate destination.
As you see, that this is not something that is limited to just Indians or Africans or Americans. It is human nature that we want to gain more and do less, because in that way we are in profit, you see. And if there is that's what we call entitlement, isn't it? And we will see this problem much more in the Western culture than in India. An Indian would even sell a tea. They would even do a tea startup. And there is a startup which goes by the name MBA Chaiwala. Okay, so that's the name of the startup. And how they started is they started selling tea in India. All right, and he was an educated person who has done masters in business administration. You see, so when you talk about entitlement, I think one must look within their own culture and society. Here it needs some self introspection, but whatever.
So if you give them a task and they know it takes an hour to do, a lot of them actually stretch it out to 2 hours, which is just enough to actually max out the time, but not enough for you to worry.
Everybody works like that. Everybody in every country, in every company, all employees stretch their timelines, and it's not just because they are lazy. It can also be because that there are hard deadlines sometimes, so let's say if I say that something should get completed within a week, then it should get completed within a week. You cannot go over it, because then the schedule gets messed up, you see, because then there is a delay in the development process, and then there is a delay in quality assurance, and then deployment happens late, then marketing team's work gets hindered, they have to reschedule their stuff. GTA 6 project got so much delayed 1 year, so hopefully they're going to release GTA 6 in 2025, but we can say that their marketing team was very much prepared for that, to release in 2024 or 2025, basically in 2024, early 2024. But I think that there could have been some issues. I'm not sure about it, but we can see that sometimes it is very, very necessary to, especially when it comes to hard deadlines, you have to deliver them on time. So you under promise and over deliver. All right, this is a tactic. Okay, what is it? Under promise and over deliver. Basically, promise. You cannot just say that I'm going to complete it within a day. Yes, you can. You might be able to complete it within a day, but you need to say that it is going to take 1 week. And this is because unexpected things happen when you're developing softwares. Sometimes you need to do R&D, and even in case of hard deadlines and having that margin, a lot of margin, there is something that is totally out of the box, and you have to eventually reschedule. There is no other way but to reschedule your timelines. And I know it's frustrating, but as a product engineer and dealing with the managers, I could understand what issues they are going through. So they also carry a lot of pressure on their backs. So they want you to basically, when they talk to a product engineer, they expect you to be very specific about the timelines, and they admire if you say that it is going to take a week, even if you think it is going to take 2 days. When I worked on a cropping functionality, an image crop functionality, when I knew nothing about how images were cropped, I said that it is going to take 1 week, and my manager said, okay, all right, and I delivered it within a day. The very next day, I did my R&D. I delivered it the next day, and my manager was happy. But my manager was not happy in the other scenario, which was when I said I'm going to complete something in a day, and I'm taking a week to complete it, because then they have to justify that to the client, or to the founder or the owner of the company, the CEO, whatever the person that is senior to them.
So it's not very efficient. Whereas I find if you do hire someone personally, yourself, even if they are remote or working in another country, and you pay them well, naturally they would want to prove their value and continue to do a good job. When a company is outsourcing developers from cheaper countries, it's often because they are looking for a cheap option. There is no other benefit here.
Again, she said that only benefit to hire Indian is that they are cheap. This is not at all true. So you're saying that the biggest companies like Google and Microsoft, Adobe, and many other countries around the world that are top companies hire Indians as their CEO. I don't know what delusion you live in, but I think Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai should give this coding with D woman an opportunity to run a company for a day, and let's find out what happens. See, even if I'm a developer, and I think I'm a good developer, I don't think I can replace those people. You think you can, then prove it. All right, so don't just talk about it, prove yourself.
Company can hire quality developers who are experienced from India, from the Philippines, from Africa, but experienced developers from any country is not cheap. Now,
I somewhat agree with this, but again, I don't think that how much you're getting paid defines who you are. I was paid $5 each day for a year. Doesn't mean that I was as important as someone. See, I'm not saying that in a degrading way, but you're saying that my worth is same as someone who is cooking in a fast food company, fast food chain. That's not how the things work. I have years of experience. I have right skill set. I have graduated from good institutes, studied under good mentors, great mentors. And I've worked with really, really good people. They were like so excellent in what they do that you do not have to trust my words. If you're going to ask me their name, I'll give it to you. Go talk to them. Go have a conversation with them. Know what they do, how they do it, and you will see a massive difference when you're going to work with them. You will see that they're different. They are different, and I'll say that they are better than me as well, and that's why they're getting paid more. You cannot just blame it all on Indians or just race. I'm getting paid less than you, but there are Indians that are getting paid even more than you, much more than many Americans. So it is not about ethnicity, it is not about country, it is more open game. The way we are heading towards is where you might miss on the high boat if you think that India is not where you should be investing, because India is showing 7 to 8% growth each year. All right, I don't know if you understand this very well, because for you to be able to understand this fact, you need to know that no other country is doing this. No other country is showing this kind of growth. that you can feel offended about it, you can crip about it, but it is a fact. And if you understand mathematics, then you cannot just hate it, you cannot hate facts. Even if you do not like it, you have to accept it. It needs some accountability.
I think that's just the crux of it. Cheap labor will cut costs in the short term, but cheap labor comes at its own costs.
Again, now relating the quality of delivery with the cost, which is not true, because I can charge you 50. I can, if I'm going to charge you $50, what am I charging you for? Am I charging you for time? Am I charging you for quality? What am I actually charging you for? If I'm delivering you quality, then you have to give me time as well. You have to give me peace of mind as well. Are you getting me? So it is not about the cost. Yes, when it comes to, let's say, if I'm a good developer and I do not have leverage, I cannot hire people, I cannot keep my mental health safe, I cannot have time for myself and for my family, then how am I'm not able to sleep 7 to 8 hours a day, then obviously I won't be productive, I won't be as creative, I won't have my whole thing with me. My mind could be distracted in some other situation, that my family member is sick and they're going to have an operation or surgery, and they are at a moment where it could be a moment where the life is actually breaking down for me, and if I'm at that situation, I do not even have the satisfaction of having at least money to not be distracted, then how will you be able to deliver quality? If I have to visit my sick mom, I will have to visit her. All right? There is no other way to put it. It depends on many factors, and even if I'm a really, really good developer, if someone is sick from my family, I won't be able to perform. Because if my family is chaotic and I have been with if my mother were to be single mom, or if my family used to fight and did not give me the peace of mind, then there is no way that I will be able to compete or perform. And it is not limited to just Indians or Americans or Australians, Tunisians, Moroccans, Nigerians. It includes all of us, it affects all of us.
And if companies are doing this, it's only a matter of time until it comes back to bite them. But also the question you have to ask is, maybe they know it, maybe they are willing to take the risk just so that they can cut those costs and make their investors or shareholders happy. Unfortunately, that is the situation that we're in now. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Sorry for the lack of uploads. Like I've been saying, work has been quite busy.
That's the end of the video. So I hope you guys understand why I made this video. This map shows the very reason I made this video. There is a misconception or a belief that the world revolves around the West, the USA, Canada, and all the privileged countries, and rest of the world does not even exist. Yes, you included Africa, because many countries here are in poverty. Nigeria is extreme poverty. They cannot even compete. I'm not saying that they cannot compete, but we can say that they did not have that privilege of education, of having education. And this actually disappoints me, because if the people from the most developed society and the ones who preach that we are the most developed society are not going to think about the world, then how will be world more balanced? Can it be a more balanced place? Thank you very much for watching this video. If you've made it till the end, don't forget to subscribe, because, well, it doesn't matter. Just share this message to the people that think about the world and their mindset or mentality is not in a shell of their own, the cage that they have built themselves, that they cannot see the world as equal. No hate towards Americans, no hate towards any of the Western countries, because I know many people from Western countries, and I actually adore them, and I do not want to be misunderstood by those people. But I don't know how to be not at all be blunt about it. I will be blunt about it, and I have been blunt about a lot of stuff. I do not even make these kind of stuff. I don't have to do anything with it. But if you're just going to get on a high port which is based on trash talk, then you can go there. But if you actually want to learn software engineering, software development, or how to start your own business and grow with the world, then you need to ignore such content creators, not because they are bad content creators, but they got manipulated at some point. And I'm not saying that you should totally ignore them. If they're making good content, then do follow them. I will also follow them. I will appreciate them. But when you exclude about more than 50% of the population, more than 50%, all right? It is more than 50% of the population, easily. Actually, much more than 50%. Then I don't think that you're on the right side. See, what we are aiming for is to create an equal world. And to create an equal world, we need to have a system where people are rewarded to develop the world, to be a catalyst, to develop Africa, to develop India, to develop Afghanistan, all right? But this has never been a purpose of Western civilization. Many of the Nigerians are malnutrition. Many Indians are malnutrition. But if that is not our problem, if that is not the problem of the world, then problems of the West can never be problem of India. It cannot be problem of Russia. It cannot be problem of China. It cannot be a problem of Brazil. And Australia already understands that the majority of the world is the one that got crossed. I hope you're able to understand it, and I hope you learned something. I hope that you will do something about it and not be just racist towards, like, racist towards the entire world. America is not the entire world.